Right. Yep.
Should be good.
Thank you, Chief. Go ahead and call the meeting to order. All can rise. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome everybody. Go ahead and for approval of the agenda. Second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Incy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. Any upcoming commissioner absences? We have two, I think, right?
Next meeting, if need be, just let me know, maybe a day or two in advance, if you do the remotely, otherwise I'll be out of the
Stay out of the country, but I can probably figure out how to get myself here virtually.
Alex, you're gonna be here next on the 11th. Kevin. Thank you.
I don't think he heard you.
Kevin,
Yes.
here on the April 11th meeting, is that correct?
Hang on, I didn't hear what you say, Chairman.
Can you confirm that you're gonna be at the next meeting, Kevin?
Next meeting? Yeah, I have attention. That's when we're gonna be a little short, right?
Correct.
Yeah, no, I plan on being there.
If that changes, let me know.
You bet.
Communications?
Yeah, in your packets, there's a letter from the Washington Fire Commissioners Association with their annual report.
Thank you. For a motion to approve the minutes of the March 14th meeting. So moved. Second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Incy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. Vouchers.
I'll move we approve accounts payable vouchers 199,038 through 199,126. Payroll vouchers 199,022 through 199,037 for a subtotal of $1,247,643.35. And ACH payroll transfer and wire transfer fees for a subtotal of $1,272,167.34. For a grand total of $2,519,810.69 as outlined in the agenda.
Second. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Incy,
Yes.
Commissioner Sudich,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner Wilsey,
Yes.
Chairman Urbina.
Yes. Do you have a report from the local? Thank
They not have a report.
Chief's report.
All right, we are gonna start with Chief Meyer.
Good evening. Just a couple things to report tonight. Like we talked about in the last commissioners meeting, we are entering into a driver operator program for fire engines. This is something new to our district in accordance with the current CBA. We are doing a testing process for those positions in June. There's 20 positions overall, 5 per shift each day, so 5 of our career fire engines. Right now, we have 27 applicants for the 20 positions, so we're going to be doing that process in June, getting ready for 2024 for those positions to start. So, then just wanted to update you on a significant call we had last Wednesday. Some of you folks may have been stuck in traffic, or some of your loved ones may have been stuck in traffic. Wednesday, just about noon on the 22nd, we responded with mutual aid partners, South Kitsap, right, basically the county line, for a wrong way driver, multi-car, multi-patient accident. So BC Falk, Noah Falk was the incident commander. He worked well with South Kitsap Fire Rescue because they both got dispatched at the same time, if you will, for that area of our jurisdiction. So they worked with South Kitsap Fire and then also Washington State Patrol for that incident. As you all know, the freeway was shut down for multiple hours. They also had a manhunt going on at the same time. So we did our part. We actually had to extricate one of the passengers out of one of the cars. That extrication took 15 minutes and used our Jaws of Life, our first rescue tool, to do that. We transported 2 people from that scene. Yeah, it just was kind of a big event that hit the harbor and caused a lot of havoc with traffic for like 5 to 6 hours that day. So Noah Falk and crews did a good job working with our partners up in our event that day. So unless there's any questions, that's the end of my report.
Chief, all right. I wanted to update you gentlemen on a couple things that happened over the last few weeks. As you know, we're in partnership with LNI through their firefighter injury and illness reduction program. They came into the district and did a risk management class with several of us. It was really about identifying areas for exposure to both carcinogens and injury. And then they walked us through the process of identifying an exposure and then coming up with ideas on mitigating the exposure. And that's the process that I will use as I move forward to create the plans that we'll implement to reduce injury and risk, which is the whole point. But it was a good class. Chief Johnson was there, Chief Meyer was in attendance, and we all gained a lot from it. The other thing I wanted to tell you all about is this last Thursday and Friday, we hosted the IAFF with their resilience training. It's a program that was developed and launched just prior to COVID. So they actually haven't really done a lot of in-person classes across the country. They did several virtuals during the pandemic, but this is one of the first where they did in-person training. We had 2 classes, 2 days in a row. It's 1-day class, 2 days in a row. We had folks from all over the region, from as far north as San Juan Islands, came down to attend the program, and it was very well received. The information was fantastic, and I really enjoyed hosting all the folks as well as the IFM instructors. So, wanted to share with you guys. If you have any questions, I'll go ahead and pass on to the next person.
It's me. So I reported last time that we were gonna have the trap shooting event against police. It was actually a carryover from last October, Hole for a Soldier, where we tied them. So this was a shoot off, and after 125 rounds, we were tied again. The most important part is that I went against the police chief and beat him, and that's the most important part. But they did win the shoot off, and Kent Cooper, Mark Baker, Greg Hosher, and Scott Jorgensen and I competed in that. We had a lot of fun with police and went to Hi-U-Hee for a soda afterwards. Hung out with them, so we had a good time. We reported or gave a presentation about our volunteer program last meeting, or might have been 2 meetings ago. Anyway, we are officially going to end our volunteer response program as of June 30th. Our staff has met with anybody that has been in that or may be affected with that. And so we just wanted to let you know that as of June 30th, we will no longer officially have any volunteer responders. Friday, March 24th, I went to Swiftwater and read. They had to give me a book with lots of pictures and small words, but and first grade, but I was able to struggle through. Newsletter, we have a on scene in front of you. We normally mail these out, but due to cost reasons, this one we're only going to do an online version. So we're trying to, through social media and the website, and just take it when I speak or go to Rotary and trying to get the word out. So we want to encourage you to also help us get this out. The cost is somewhere around $10,000–$20,000 to send it out to the entire district. So we're gonna wait to the next one to do that. So just trying to cut costs, but also still communicate with our constituents. So that was the decision we made on this one.
This is quarterly, right?
We're trying to get it quarterly, 2–3 times a year at minimum, but sometimes quarterly might be a little much. We'll do our best. At least a couple times a year. I got a call from Robin Denson, and Keep In and our local 3390 are sponsoring her to go to Boise to the Fire Ops 101. If you guys know what Fire Ops 101 is, yeah. Oh, Fire Ops 101 is put on by the IFF, where the locals usually go to a department in 7th district, host it in Boise. They take elected leaders and put them through a day in the life of a firefighter. They actually get turnouts, they fight fire, they cut people out of a car, they go on medical, and they spend an entire day with a wrangler from a department and going through all these different scenarios to just learn about what being a firefighter is and actually do the job. They extricate people, they pull the hose line, they climb the ladder, they do all of it. So it's called Fire Ops 101. It's put on by the IFF, hosted by Ricky Walsh in the 7th district, and Boise Fire hosted for our district. So Robin Denson and our local sponsored them to go there, sponsored her to go there. So we want to thank local 3390 for doing that. Some stuff came up that Chief Wilsey, Commissioner Wilsey forwarded me, and Commissioner Sudich was on there with the South Sound 911 and bringing the two systems, the 700 and 800, the county and the Tacoma together. They're looking at Fox Island Station 53 as a radio site. We had our first meeting with what's Steve's last name? Steve Taylor last week, and we're just exploring that as a site to help with the 800 system, and especially if the two systems come together. So I think there's a lot of opportunities there, and so we got a lot of work to do, and this is going to take us some time, but we're starting that process to look at it. I met with South Kitsap Fire Chief today. I talked with him, and we went to the legislative committee meeting today because our CAD to CAD project is looking like it's going to be done in June of this year. He and I wanted to talk about how we are going to implement that, how we're going to partner together in the south end of the Kitsap and north end of Gig Harbor. So no decisions were made today other than how we can partner with them in training and in operations and responding. Chief Meyer, I'll take it from here. The last thing I wanted to update you on is the Washington State Fire Chiefs annual conference is May 22nd through the 25th. There are some open seats on the board, and I have applied for that. I got Commissioner Urbina's permission and needed to write a letter with his approval. So I needed it for the District 7 position on the board of the Washington State Council of Fire, or Washington State Fire Chiefs. That's all I have. Unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Any standing committee reports? Right. Finance report. Crystal.
Hello, let me just share my screen real quick here. Can you see that? Okay, great. This is the second month of the new financial monthly report. It has a couple of different areas that are new. We added this February column and the year-to-date column. It also includes the amended budget instead of the adopted budget as approved last month. Most of the items are very similar. A couple areas to note on the revenue. You'll notice here in the intergovernmental is a little high from a percent of budget. This does include a couple of reimbursements for grants on COVID reimbursements that came in early in January. So those were actually for prior year activity. And then the other non-revenue area, this is where your miscellaneous type revenues go. That area is a little bit higher due to our rate of return on investment interest. That's actually coming in a little higher than what we had anticipated on the budget side for budget development. On the operating side, for expenses, there's not too much to explain here. It does include the amended budget items. Capital, we're still pretty slow on our expenditure side for the first couple months of the year. And then ending cash, you'll notice that our current ending fund cash is a little bit less than it was at the beginning of the year. This is pretty typical for the first quarter of the year. Our property tax collection revenue will start coming in the next month. So that'll start to pick up again. And that's it for the February report, unless you guys have any questions.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you.
I don't have anything for the chairman's report. It gets us to the bond update.
Well, good evening, everybody. In your commissioners meeting packet, there was a project schedule update. So we dug into it a little bit further with Bryce Fergus on timelines for the documents and permitting, and then breaking it into bidding and construction for the various projects. There's a lot of cushion built into it. I'm a little bit more optimistic. I think we'll hopefully with 53 and 57 move along a little bit faster than what's on here in submitting to the county. Specifically to those two projects, 53 and 57, last week posted public notice signs at both stations. You've probably seen them around in your driving when a new project is upcoming. We're required to post a sign saying what the project is. And then I believe it's 500 feet around the property. Every address that encompasses that circle was also sent it in the mail from the county. And that comment period is open till April 17th. And then if there's no comment, then we continue moving forward with our plan submittal. And we're actually asking if we can actually submit plans before that date, if they're all ready. Because the only thing that will change is they'll give us a comment and we'll go from there. So we're trying to keep bumping this along. With the tower, still looking at a May submittal. Finalizing a lot of those details now. Some meetings coming up are all the coordination of the electrical, the mechanical, the structural engineers. That meeting is next week. Currently in my possession, I have a complete set of plans for both the training tower and the support building. They're 60% plans. Basically, that just means I have all the large detail on there. We're breaking it into, I guess some of it is small detail in the fact that there's floor slopes for drainage, all those things are in there. And then I'm working through some of the final documents for very specific things, door handles, finishes, all the stuff that pops up, making sure all things are in the right places. And then we have not started 51, the design phase per se. But I will be reaching out to some members of the organization to help me look at that design and work through that. We're purposely not doing it right now because we're trying to get all this stuff pushed through and submitted before we start that process. But in the next couple of weeks, I'll be reaching out to members of the organization for some input, or at least people to help with input of that. That is all I have for the update. Questions? Thank you, Chief. Thank you.
Being the old business. That gets us to new business, draft resolution for the general fire levy multi-year, the Chief John.
Yeah, so the draft resolution is in your packet, and we don't have any action today. We just want to have the first draft out there to allow yourself, community, department to give us any feedback, make it public, and we'll have plenty of time to make it official. But right now it's just the first draft. Just make it public to get any feedback from community members.
Any questions on that?
Mr. Chair. An audience member has raised their hand. I don't know if you want to take comments right now. It says Carl's iPad. has raised his hand.
Yes, it is. Okay, go ahead.
Are we there?
Yes.
Good evening, Carl.
Hi, everybody. Carl Kreitzer. I live in Gig Harbor. I understood that you were wanting any potential comments on the resolution from the public, and I've got a couple things that have dawned on me as preparation for the question I have. I note that the resolution is a fire suppression tax levy. And we lay out that the levy shall provide funds required by the fire district for the provision of fire protection and fire suppression services, including personnel cost, training for such personnel and related equipment, supplies, vehicles, and other capital needs. Down in the third, as it's referred to, recital, it says that fire protection, fire suppression, and what I consider to be a pretty vague phrase, other emergency services. Going on back to the fifth recital, it indicates that if this is not passed, there will result in an inability to maintain current levels of services and response times. And you go down to section 1, again, we have the nebulous term of other emergency services. And there's, again, it says such losses, which would come from the loss of revenue if it's not passed. Such losses will necessitate reduction in services and increased response time as enumerated in the fifth recital. And the fifth recital in this basically it's saying the same thing. It's sort of a circular definition. But as I look at the results of last year on an activity basis, call activity basis, 1.61% of the calls were for fires and 83.8% were for EMS. So my presumption is that other emergency services means EMS. And my question for the board is, why aren't we more clear in what this is actually going to pay for?
I guess my question to you, Carl, is so you want more specifics in what other emergency services is defined as?
Well, since probably, at least again, on a call basis, 83% will be for those other emergency services, and we know what they are, why not clearly define them?
Well, I guess, Carl, the only thing is we don't necessarily want to confuse this with the EMS levy lid lift, right? Which is something completely separate for EMS services, where this is solely for fire. And when I didn't write the language myself, but I can imagine, as I'm in the business, that the other emergency services would be somewhat fire related as far as rope rescue or swift water, confined space. I guess we could go in hazmat, I mean, we participate in multiple teams across the county in those areas, but we still have a monetary obligation to those groups to be a part of them. And I guess some of these dollars could potentially be used for those services, which, although, I tend to agree with you, the language is vague, but, to list everything out that might, encompass, and then to keep everybody happy that's counting the beans and where they're going. I think that the language has been used before and has been successful and meets the regulation, but this isn't necessarily an EMS. That's not, that other language isn't EMS specifically, Carl. It's for other fire related services.
And if you look at this call log, which I did, again, 83.8% of the calls were EMS. So it's not solely, and the other items you have enumerated are included in that calculation. This is of the total calls. It still seems to me that we could be more clear with the public about what this money is going to be used for.
Okay, thank you for your input, Carl. let's go to our next item of business, which is the 2022 annual performance report. People over.
Good evening, everyone. Let me share my screen here, make sure you see everything. All right, I just wanted to go through and let everybody know that we have completed our 2022 annual performance report. This is more based on our actual response performance, so it's not, we do a number of annual reports, but this is specific to emergency response. We had one similar to this last year. I'll just briefly go through and highlight a couple of areas. The general descriptions, mission, vision, values, that's all the same. I will say, and I'll note on here a couple of different places. So this area right here with the assistant chief, that's new from the org chart last year. So that is Chief Johnson's position to oversee the bond in our capital facilities projects. So that is newly added last year. The numbers stay very close and consistent as last year. When we get into our geographic and response areas, those are all similar. Call volume. Notice down here on the bottom right, the page identifier, I apologize over that. But we did have an increase of approximately 10% in our call volume last year here in the district. So that is quite a jump over previous years. I think we're getting back closer to pre-COVID times. Our percentage of call volume is very consistent year over year. So that changes a little bit in the numbers of how we define what emergency calls would go on as EMS and fires. Those change independently a little bit, but the overall percentages are very, very close year over year. Let's see. We didn't have any changes in our response area. And I do want to get to some of the numbers here. So in the turnout time, I'll have you look at this one right here where it says 93% of the time. That's a very good. We shoot for 90% as our fractile here in the organization. That's our benchmark that we want to hit. We're meeting that. As far as our fire turnout time, I would say an area that we can probably focus on a little bit more would be the area of our turnout time. This has improved since last year, but it's still something that we could probably focus on a little bit more internally. And that's turnout times. As far as travel times, I would like to highlight the vast majority of all of these. So if you look across the line here, and we've had the 88%, 95%, and 100%, those are actually all very, very good numbers. What that means to me when we're evaluating this is that our performance goals are very close to being accurate with what we want as an organization. So what we can afford fiscally, what we can match with response capabilities, and what goals we've set are very, very close. It doesn't do us any good to have goals that we can't ever reach without either the money or the staffing. So this says that we're doing a good job of marrying those up and matching those. When we look at these over last year, most of these increased between 5 and 15 to almost 20% in some of the categories. So that's good. I think what that is a combination of things in the organization. It's probably employee awareness because we're tracking things now. We're evaluating it. We're using that data in decisions, and we've educated our employees on when to push the button, when not to push the button. Pushing the buttons means things, and let's track things accurately. So I think a combination of all those things means good data in, good data out, combined with our performance and response objectives being accurate and not unrealistic. I think that all in all, the numbers are very, very good for this year. So this will be posted on our website and accessible to the public. And so I just wanted to go through that with you tonight. And I stand for questions if anybody has
Any questions, Commissioner? Thank you, Chief. And now it's time for any other open public comments.
Carl has his hand up.
Please state your name for the record. You'll have 3 minutes.
My name's Carl Kreitzer. I live in Gig Harbor. It won't take 3 minutes. I would ask the board if you would ask someone to provide me the authorized FTEs for the department for year end 21 and you're in 22.
Authorized FTEs for 21 and 22.
You're in.
Okay, Carl. Thank you. Any good of the order? Seeing none, any special interests, upcoming events? Got the reminder for us, the commissioner deadline to file our annual Form F1 next month on the 15th. So hopefully we address that. Any other special interests, upcoming events? Okay. Seeing none, move to adjourn the meeting. Our next regular meeting will be scheduled on April 11th and 5 o'clock. Thank you everyone for being here.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Thank you.